What is going on, you guys, and welcome back. Welcome back to the Cake Radio Show. Pardon for the delay on Saturday's episode. For those who don't know, I'm a student. I go to school alongside doing this YouTube stuff, so I had to lock in on these quizzes and assignments that I had this week. So, y'all bear with me. Y'all trying to support my college career, baby. Tune into these episodes. Make sure that ad revenue running. Make sure y'all subscribe. Join the channel membership if you're watching this on YouTube, baby. If you have ad blocker, turn the ad blocker off. Give me them ads. Do the YouTube red stuff like the podcast, follow the podcast on your favorite platforms, subscribe, do what you need to do. Subscribe to my other channels too. Support me, baby. But we just gonna hop into today's topic. Originally, the other reason why it took so long for me to jump into this because I did not have another topic for this week until this came up, and we are digging into the discourse that's been happening with Jerrod Carmichael and his new show that's been out. So for those who don't know, Jerrod Carmichael is a black queer comedian who has been, you know, in the news lately because of his new show that's airing on HBO called Jerrod Carmichael Reality Show. And the show has been getting a lot of discourse because there's been two clips that have really been kind of making the rounds and has gotten Jerrod Carmichael in discussions for the wrong reasons. The first clip that went viral from the show was the clip of him sitting down with Tyler the Creator, basically kind of doing an interrogation as to why Tyler the Creator was not romantically interested in Jerrod Carmichael and why he became distant because of that reveal. And there's also the other clip that has popped up recently and has been the recent discussion of him in the show, in which it's been kind of focusing on him and Jerrod Carmichael and his white boyfriend and the relationships and jokes that he's made in light of that relationship and how people felt about that. So we're going to dig into both of those things in the Charlemagne the God of it all. So the Tyler the Creator clip, and for context, I've seen both clips. I have not sat and watched any episodes of the show, mainly because I don't want to. But if y'all want me to sit down and watch the show and do a recap or have my thoughts on it, let me know in the comments or let me know with the Q&A feature on your podcast platforms, and let me know, because if y'all want that, I'll do it. But I've only seen the clips of both of the clips from the show, as well as the clip from the Breakfast Club of him being interviewed by Charlamagne the God and him trying to clear things up but making things worse. But let's talk about these clips. So with the Tyler the Creator clip, it's definitely unfortunate that Tyler the Creator was basically being interrogated. It was kind of the worst situation to really be in, because I feel regardless of how the outcome is, no one wants to be in a space where they're being interrogated by someone that has romantic interest in them about why they aren't romantically interested. And what makes it worse is the fact that it was being recorded. He was in this room filled with production teams and cameras and stuff like that, basically recording him. So he kind of had to flub it a little bit and figure out how he was gonna handle it. And the way Tyler handles pretty much anything is by being unserious. That is his persona, and how he moves as a person and as a celebrity is being unserious. So him kind of not taking he was kind of taking it seriously, but at the same time he was also ordering tacos and eating. He was doing extra, but that is what people know and love when it comes to Tyler the Creator, him being extra. Now, there's also the thing that we have to be honest about, and I don't think either Jerrod Carmichael or Tyler the Creator really like dating black men like that. And that leads to the discourse of why do a lot of black queer men, both in the celebrity scene and both kind of in the community in general, only really date white men? Is this a thing? And as a black gay man myself, it's a thing. It really is a thing. And for me, I'm sick of it. For me, it's rough, because I know for me, like dating wise, I okay. I've had talking stages and have like been in brief dating stages with everybody, like black, white, Hispanic, Latino, like Asian. Like I've been around the block, for lack of better terms. But when it comes to like black men, and it's not all black men because let's make that clear. It's not all black men, but there's definitely been some cases in which I've interacted with, or I've tried interacting with black gay men, and they are not trying to. They're not trying to deal with me. Like they are not really trying to spend too much time interacting. Like they are already kind of like it's very obvious that the interest is not there. And then they pop up with their white boyfriends, and it's like, oh, all right. And it's one thing if it was like, oh, like there's one thing if it again like for a lot of people in this conversation with this discourse, there's one thing if it was, oh, like I am out in the dating scene, I just ended up dating a like white man because we just we met, we fell in love, there was nothing like malicious or anything strange like with it, and our relationship is healthy. There's one thing if it's something like that, but for a lot of cases, there's a lot of like black men, and this is not just a queer thing. This is also something that is happening with straight black men as well. Like black women can attest to this. For my black ladies, the black girls who are watching this and listening to this, baby, drop in the comments if you can relate. But there are a lot of like black men who are like actively just pursuing non-black men and women, and the black women and the black men and like my black non-binary people, hey, let me not leave y'all out this conversation, who are trying to date black or at least give them a chance, are not being given the chance back. They're not getting receptive because the beauty standards and a lot of the anti-blackness and colorism in the world has kind of made it so that dating white is like the thing that you should do. And a lot of people, there's also like the weird things with like quote unquote racial preferences and stuff like that. This could be a whole conversation in of itself, but there's a lot of people who date white because they perceive dating white as like getting access to things that like they weren't able to get if they dated black, or like they kind of like some people are also like, oh, like how can dating a black person benefit me? Like there's just that weird kind of discussion with it. But it sucks because there's that issue, but you also can't really do anything because what can you do? Set these black men down and be like, yeah, I have to date a black woman or a black man? Like that is not going to be too material. But we also have at the end of the day we can only just call it what it is, and it's just colorism. Like it's really just colorism. So there's that, and I feel like that kind of is seen a lot with the black men in Hollywood and the black celebrities who are like especially black queer celebrities. Like a lot of them, and I keep saying black queer celebrities, but baby, this is just a lot of black celebrities. Like we could take the stuff that's happening with the straight men, like the straight rappers right now, like Drake and Kendrick Lamar and Rick Ross and everybody who's beefing in like the rap game right now, who I should do an episode on. They are all dating like the same looking women. Like they all like light skinned women, or like white women, or like people, or like women who you can't really tell what they are. Like it's just kind of like, whoa, like it's very consistent that it's like not like it's always not like women who are not dark skinned. So it's like there's colorism everywhere, and a lot of black men just kind of they embrace that colorism or like those quote unquote preferences. So there's always that issue, and I think Tyler and Jerrod Carmichael both kind of lean into that. And that also kind of transitions to the next sort of clip that got viral, in which a big focal point of the show is basically Jerrod Carmichael kind of like airing out his like experiences and his like troubles with his like kind of leaning into experiencing his sexuality and growing into it. So I know there's I saw the trailer for the show too. Like there's scenes in which like he's interacting with his family, who's still kind of like either non-accepting or like struggling to come to terms with his sexuality. And from the clips I've seen, like I think those clips are definitely worth. I wouldn't mind tuning into the show for that, because again, there's a lot like for a lot of black families and a lot of black people, being gay is like viewed as taboo. Like it's not viewed as like an okay thing. So like a seeing black celebrities kind of like show that and like kind of lean into it, like, oh, like this is like it's a thing. So for someone to really kind of like air that out and be intimate like that is definitely something that is like that is real, and that's something that I wouldn't mind tuning into the show for. But there's also an aspect of the show that definitely that's been viral, in which it's talked about Jerrod dating his current boyfriend who was white, and the strange dynamics of that relationship. Like there was a clip, and there's been a discussion point that came out in which is like Jerrod Carmichael sucking like white toes, and then there's also the clip that came out in which it was like basically a slave play joke in which Jerrod Carmichael was talking about how like his white boyfriend is loves to read and is telling him about the books that he loves to read, and Jerrod Carmichael sitting there like, yes, master, like what? And that clip has gone viral, and people have discussed it and have like questioned Jerrod Carmichael for being into slave play. And as a result, in an episode of The Breakfast Club, is it The Breakfast Club? Yeah, The Breakfast Club. With Charlamagne the God and that one dude who was scamming people into with them homes, and that lady who like hates trans people for some reason, from some weird reason. Just hilarious. That lady. I got beef with her, baby. I might need to do an episode on her. I'm gonna have to air her out because she got issues. But that whole show is trash. But the issue is on a recent episode, Charlamagne the God gave Jerrod Carmichael Donkey of the Day because of the slave play joke. And Jerrod Carmichael decided to end up coming to the show on an episode and kind of with the quote unquote purpose of like promoting the show, of course, but also trying to quote unquote clarify, what he meant by the joke. And for starters, that's already bad because like if one, it's bad if you have to like clarify a joke, because then it's kind of like the joke wasn't funny. Like if you have to clarify the joke and like what was your intent with the joke, you already kind of lost because maybe the people didn't get it, or you in trouble because people didn't get it, and it's like maybe the joke was trash. So there's that kind of issue, and I think the other issue is, honestly, if he was going to handle it the way that he did, he could have done like a comedy special or something like a lot of other comedians do. Other comedians have like waited to answer like or like respond to the discourse of like a joke or something that they've made, and they've done an episode of a show, or they've done a stand-up special in which they will talk about that joke and how people responded, and then hit their response and like kind of explaining it there. So monetizing and monopolizing on the people who like did not get the joke or had built controversy because the joke is one of the common ways that comedians do this. So the fact that he got on this show and it's like, oh, well, trying to explain it is already a flop on his end. But the way that he tried handling explaining the joke was just poor as well, because it's the fact that he went on this, show and was kind of like, oh, well, basically, like, he tried to explain the joke and he's like, well, the joke wasn't that bad and y'all are taking it too seriously, and this joke would have worked if I had a black partner. First of all, no, it would not have worked if you had a black partner, because baby, black people, it wouldn't have worked, because the dynamic that comes from slavery is not really that apparent or like that collectively like shared or understood to be something that has happened between black people. Like, it has happened, yes, but for the most part, when people relate things or like certain jokes and stuff to slavery and the dynamics that brought this controversy to a head, was literally because of the fact that he was saying yes master to his white partner, and in America, because of slavery, white people owned slaves, and that was a thing that black people, like, he was shucking and jiving. So the fact that he was like, oh, like he basically was trying to shrug it off. He was basically trying to shrug it off and be like, oh, like, y'all just didn't get it, and was basically saying, like, he was basically insinuating that, like, the black people who took offense to this and felt some type of way of this shouldn't have felt some type of way, or were, like, stupid for feeling some type of way. And then in the same vein, in the same interview, he was basically saying that, like, he felt like he was, for the longest time, he felt like he was the smartest person in the room. And that's when he kind of lost me. Like, he already lost me, but he really lost me then, because it kind of was made apparent to me with that line that he was the smartest person in the room because he was surrounded by black. He wasn't surrounded by black people. He was surrounded by white people who were egging him on. Like, it was made apparent that he was really kind of in these white only spaces, and like spaces that were predominantly shared by white people. And because he was like he was the token black person in the space, he's like, yeah, I'm the one who knows what to say on these topics. So of course he was viewed as the smartest person in the room because he's the only black person in the room. But if someone else was in that space who looked like him, or like sounded, or at least like had similar thoughts of him, it would have been a different thing. So for him to really kind of sit on here on that show and kind of respond like that kind of showed a little bit of anti-blackness that he has. Like, it kind of showed his cards to me, and I just was not really, like most people, they weren't really feeling it. And it's bad when you have Charlemagne, who is like one of the most, like, the worst people, one of the worst men on earth. Not even one of the worst men on earth, because there's a lot worse people, but one of the worst black men on, one of the worst black personalities on, like, online right now. Because I, like, online radio, like, he is one of the worst. He is one of, like, he has said some diabolical things that he has shrugged off. And the fact that he, of all people, was able to have some, like, he had some intelligence to at least use. The fact that he sounded smart, and the fact that he sounded like the better person in the situation compared to Jerrod Carmichael was very telling. It's very telling. So the next point kind of leads to, like, what do we do from here? Well, Jerrod and probably is not going to change because the other thing, before we even get to that, the whole interview with him on there kind of trying to explain things made it very evident that he wasn't on there trying to defend himself. Because it would be one thing if he was in the interview, like, defending himself. He was on the show to defend his white boyfriend. He was on the show to defend the fact that his white boyfriend has things to lose. His boyfriend has things to lose. Like, his boyfriend is not a personality. Like, that's a man who got, like, a 9-to-5 job and has things, and was doing this just because he loves his boyfriend. So the fact that, like, people are like questioning, this joke that his boyfriend made, it was like, oh, are you into that? Like, are you into slave play and stuff like that? And could cost him his things, like cost him his job and his career. Jerrod Carmichael had to hop on the interview with the Breakfast Club to basically defend his boyfriend and be like, y'all leave this man alone, essentially. When I feel like most people, like, again, if that was, like, I understand that, and it's somewhat fair, but in that case, you shouldn't have made the joke. Like, if you were willing to put, like, the fact that he was willing to put that on the line and think that was okay, as well as have a production team who thought that was okay, it's something that he should take on the chin. Like, he should really be like, y'all, like, the joke was corny, I'm sorry, like, it's my fault. Like, he should have took ownership with that, but he wasn't taking ownership at all. He wasn't taking ownership. He wasn't on the show for his sake. He was on the show in defense of his boyfriend, and was basically saying, oh, the black people who are criticizing me aren't, like, they don't get it. Like, y'all not smart enough to get it. And it's also the fact that he was comparing the black people who were criticizing him for this joke to, like, literally the KKK. Like, literally a group of, like, white people who are criticizing the joke purely, like, are criticizing him, criticizing the show, and criticizing the joke, not because of the joke, but because he's dating a white man. And they're like, why is this, like, we don't really got to get into it because I'm not trying to have this episode pooled, but they're not criticizing you for the same reasons that black people are criticizing you and that queer people are criticizing you for that joke. So for him to sit there and compare the two, like it's not apples to oranges, not even like apples to oranges, baby, it's apples to a military grade bomb. Like it's insane to me. But the way that he handled himself on that show, I'm not surprised. Not even the show. I'm talking about the Breakfast Club. The way that he handles both the show, the way he handles himself both on and off the camera in this interview, I don't expect him to try to apologize for anything. I think he's just gonna keep doubling down, and people are just gonna be like, okay, like people are just gonna have to shrug it and move it on, or like forget him. Like there's really no way to do it. Um, again, there's also the public relations of it all. Like people felt some type of way the clips going viral and like how he's handling himself and kind of this is kind of like a what them straight people be calling like anything gay a humiliation ritual. Maybe this was the real humiliation ritual was him being on there sucking toes and stuff like that. Like that's kind of insane. But him and that dynamic is very strange. For more reasons than one. I hope that those who like I feel like those who are criticizing the show need to really stand 10 tones down and not watch the show. Like the best way to kind of handle this is just like if you felt some type of way about the clips, you don't want the show to continue, don't watch the show. Because I know a lot of people were talking about the fact that like the state of HBO and the state of HBO Max is very well. It's called Max now. Is very dire. It's the fact that Warner Bros. Discovery has like canceled every single black show or like project. Like they only have a handful of black projects in production right now, and with the HBO lineup as it stands right now, there isn't really like they canceled a lot of black shows like that rap shit show that was on Max got canceled abruptly. Like the girl, like yes, the girls wasn't tuning in for real, but like it didn't have like it was just getting off its like it was just getting its footing because it was in the second season. So like it's the fact that they're like canceling shows as was other shows and not giving them the chance to really like gain an audience and like court anything is like already a bad thing enough. But it's the fact that like there's only so few black shows and we're kind of regressing back into like a lack of representation for like black people. And then you have a show like this in which it's quote unquote black representation. It's like, yes, there is this black man who is coming to terms with his sexuality and learning how to move around with his family and stuff like that and like really become comfortable with himself. Yes, that is representation, but is it good representation when he is over here like sucking on toes? Like the way I keep bringing up the sucking toes thing, because that's throwing me real bad. But like sucking on toes and like kind of perpetuating a lot of the colorism and like weird behaviors that come with like a lot of black, like a lot that we see a lot with like people who like black men who date non-black people purely because not because of like purely for the wrong reasons. That's like that's the kind of the issue. Like that's the issue that people are having with the show. So baby, if y'all like don't tune into the show, don't watch no episodes. If y'all like don't want the show to be renewed, because people be tuning in, like people hate watching shows and then be shocked when the show get renewed. So don't tune into the show, please. If y'all feel some type of way, let it get canceled. We need to keep pushing for more like for better representation and like actually watch legally. Hello, and really put the pressure on these companies, because it's the fact that like this seems to be the circle that we're getting into, and we need to break the cycle. So that was my thoughts on this. Again, apologies for dropping this episode late. I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the Cake Radio Show. If you love me and you love this podcast, baby, subscribe on the YouTube channel at Cake Radio Show. Also, follow and turn on your notifications and give the show a good rating on your favorite podcast platforms. Wherever you listen on podcasts, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Deezer, like wherever you listen to a podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, We everywhere, baby. Pretty much everywhere. Don't sue me, but pretty much everywhere. So if you got a podcast platform that you want to listen to on, listen, follow, rate the podcast positively. And if you're watching me on YouTube, drop a comment below what your thoughts on this is and what topics you want me to discuss next. And if you want more of me, this is a lot of things I'm asking. If you want more of CakeDive beyond this podcast, subscribe to the CakeDive YouTube channel or the ZCN Ticket YouTube channel and get a lot more of cake. That's been it, y'all. It's been fun. Thank you for listening to the Cake Radio Show by CakeDive, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.